Welcome to the Design Podcast from the Methodist Church, conversations on living life to the full. In this latest edition, I'm joined by Deacon Eunice Attwood, who is former Vice President of the Methodist Conference and one of the ministerial team at Brunswick Methodist Church. Welcome to Methodist Church House, Eunice.
Good morning,
Bit further
Anna.
south.
Lovely to see you. Oh, from the north. Yes, it's a beautiful day here in London.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's better in Newcastle.
It's always better in Newcastle,
You do
isn't
need
it?
to know that. It's always better in Newcastle.
Tell us a little bit about Brunswick Methodist Church, where you work, because it's city centre church, is that right?
Yeah.
In Newcastle. And it's really, really embedded in community life, and it's got all kinds of things going on. So tell us a bit about Brunswick. What's it like?
It has. I absolutely love Brunswick. I love its historical heritage. It's said that when Wesley came to Newcastle, he went down the quayside, observed the swearing and cursing amongst the women and children, and said, this is a place that is ripe for redemption. And he didn't build a church. He built an orphan house, and he built a centre that the children could come to and be educated and be fed. It never did house orphans, but it was a place that Wesley used as a location for himself, for his preachers. It became a school later, and I feel like Brunswick has really captured something of that history. It's gone back to the beginning, where it now reaches out into the city centre in a really positive way, and in a way that keeps the church looking outwards, which I just love, absolutely love.
And you've got, I don't want to call them projects, because I know you don't think of them as projects. There are different groups
Yes.
that Brunswick welcomes and works with, and one of them is Girls Are Proud. Tell us about Girls Are Proud.
Yeah, I think of them very much as partnerships. So although that they are often run by external organisations, I feel that they really capture something of that Methodist priority in partnership with others wherever possible. Girls Are Proud is a project that works with vulnerable women who are sexually exploited, either who are perhaps working as prostitutes or lap dancing or whatever. It's a fantastic project that works with desperately vulnerable women who have mental health problems, caught up with addiction, but they have adopted Brunswick as their church.
Tell us how that came about. How did they adopt a Methodist church in Newcastle?
Yeah, it's great. They, well, one of the project workers, Laura, who I've known for quite a while, she works with one of the homeless charities that we worked with for years. She just rang me up one day and said, Eunice, I have a bit of a strange request. I've been working with women caught up in the sex industry, and we really need a space somewhere in the city. And when we all sat in our meeting and thought about who would have us, we thought, Brunswick will have us. And I'm really proud of that. And I said, all right, what do you want? We just want a room, we just want a space to come and have a drop in. I said, all right, yeah. And I took it to the church council. Church council, brilliant, said, yeah, absolutely fine. And the first day that they came into Brunswick, I went down to welcome them. And all I did was take a tin of celebration chocolates. And I went in, and it was mayhem, absolute mayhem. And I didn't feel right to impose myself on them in any way. So I kind of just milled around, said hi to Laura and the workers, and then just left and got on with the rest of the day. Lots of things happened. And later that night, Laura, one of the workers, rang me up, and she said, Eunice, thank you so much for what you did today. And I said, well, what did I do? Took a tin of chocolates to you. She said, when you walked out, the girls all said, who was that? And Laura said, she calls me the vicar, because, no one, you can't explain the word deacon, can you? It's just, you just can't. She said, that was the vicar. The vicar? With a box of celebrations. Does she know who we are? And Laura had said, yeah, she does. And they said, oh, we want her to come back. Tell her to come back. And they have adopted me as chaplain, and I have been guest in their space. So instead of doing what the church often does, which says, come and we will be the host, come to our party, they invited me into their space, and they have led me in what they have wanted us to do as a church. So we've done all sorts with them, alongside them. They've wanted to pray, light candles in the worship area. We do loads of things at Christmas. Sadly, when things go wrong, which is very frequently, they come to Brunswick as their church. So last summer we had a really hard time when one of the girls died, and subsequently another girl died just a week later. And the girls came, literally a dozen of them just came to the church and said, we need to be here. We need to go up there and pray. We don't know what to do. we need to be here. And I just think Brunswick offers this radical welcome, this generous hospitality that I'm so proud of as a Methodist, Anna, because I'm so proud to belong to a church that says all are welcome. I'm so proud to belong to a church that celebrates Wesleyan Arminian theology, says all can be welcome in a world where everybody builds barriers. And it's the all of Wesley's quadrilateral that I love. All need to be saved, all can be saved, all can know they're saved. That big all. And at Brunswick, we try to say something about that all being about women caught up in sexual exploitation, asylum seekers, the vulnerable community of the homeless. And we are transformed by knowing them because they show us a grace that we wouldn't learn otherwise. They teach us what it means to really be the people of God. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I just love it.
And there's something about welcome and allowing people to be in your space and being in other people's space. But there's also a question around, I think, what it means to stay with each other, to kind of, I mean, Jesus would say abide. He spoke a lot, if you read John's Gospel, there's a lot of abiding going on there. How does Brunswick manage to abide, say, with the girls from the Girls Are Proud project? How do they abide with people who, they might not approve of their lifestyle, they might feel challenged by their approach to life or their behaviour? How do they abide with that and still offer those girls the love and the support they need?
I think it's something about a sustained commitment. So most of the partnerships that we have, we've had them for a long, long time. The church has been there, a faithful community of God's people for a long time, has a great reputation in the city for being an open space of welcome. I think in the abiding, it's journeying alongside with people, accepting them as they are, but it's not come as you are, stay as you are. It's holding before them some hope that things can be different. And for some people, that hope seems desperate. But even the Gap girls, they love the fact that they have moments in the project where just for a moment they glimpse something else. And I call it hope. They'll have a good time for a couple of hours at least on a Friday afternoon. They're not taking drugs. They're being welcomed and treated as human beings. So we do a lot of stuff around, they love having their nails painted. They love doing, one of them said to me the other day, when I come here, I feel like a normal person. And for the rest of the week, I don't really feel very normal. And at the Brunswick Friendship Group, where many people from the homeless community come, we just sit alongside them and we stay there. No matter, we try to keep everyone safe, and there's a level of abuse that obviously we don't accept. But we just sit alongside and say, we're here and we're not leaving, we're not going. We'll stand by you. We want to do more work in advocating as a church community for the plight that in Newcastle at the moment there's a bit of a crisis. There's not enough accommodation for homeless men and women. And so we've been working with the homeless charities to think of what we could all help to do about that. We're even looking at a potential partnership project with the Keelman Hospital.
Yeah, somebody turned to me the other day and said, our Eunice, she's buying a hospital.
I'm not buying it.
And I thought, yeah, that sounds about right.
It's my colleague, Reverend Eden Fletcher, it's his idea, really. He walked past one day and he just looked up at it and he said, Eunice, wouldn't it be great if we could have that? And we're not looking at buying it, it's to let, and it's a property of the local authority. So we're looking at seeing if the new localism agenda of the local authority will allow us to create a partnership with homeless charities, with the church, with the local authority, in order to release that which was an asset, but a building that's just sat empty for ages. So release that asset for the benefit of the whole community. So we're dead excited about that. I love the thought of getting a hospital. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
It sounds to me there's such huge energy behind what Brunswick is doing and the communities that meet there and seeing things that need doing and doing it. Yeah. But these podcasts are about discipleship. What's the understanding of discipleship that drives that? What's at the heart of all that kind of energy pushing out?
Oh, for me, it's just such a crucial part of discipleship. Because discipleship is about life-affirming, world-changing people of God. I'm not a Christian because it's some kind of self-actualization project. I don't want to go to worship so that I feel better. I go to worship to journey with God so that my faith then enables me to engage in the world around me. Nor do I think we take God into the world. What we do is go out and we see where God is at work in the world and we get to join in. And this idea of God's doing all kinds of stuff outside the church, if only we could see what it is and join in with it. And the fact that actually in the acting, we are changed. I don't know about you, Anna, but you could sit in a house group and read the Bible and study the Bible. And it can be very interesting. You can learn something. But when you actually go out and volunteer at a soup kitchen or volunteer at your local school or become active and then come back and gather together and say, what can we learn about God in that? Then I think we learn more by being active and doing and reflecting on that. We can become very insular in our Bible study where we study and it doesn't have that change effect. So I think it's about a transformation that is two-way. I think that we have the potential as people of faith to transform the world, and the world also transforms us. As we engage, we are transformed in the doing of that. After all, where do you learn about the grace of God? But for people who are able to show you the grace of God. And the Gap girls in particular, who are vulnerable and suffer sexual exploitation, they have such energy and such grace with one another. It's incredible to see. I've often said there's sometimes more grace evident in the Gap project than some church councils I've experienced. Not Brunswick, I hasten to add, but some of them, they're
Yes.
like that.
Yeah. And you've been vice president of the Methodist Conference, and you spent a year travelling, not just in Britain, but overseas as well. How has that year of seeing what the connection looks like, or at least seeing a kind of sizable chunk of what the connection looks like, influenced your return to Brunswick and to life and work there, and how has it changed your perspectives?
I think it's encouraged me even more that we need to really own the language of a discipleship movement shaped for mission. We need to recover a sense of what it is to be the lay people of God, supported by a few ordained. So I think particularly as a minister, one of the things that it's encouraged me to do is find more ways of enabling and equipping and encouraging and inspiring and drawing back people to the incredible story of God, a God who is generous, gracious, faithful. I resist completely a language that nothing can change. I resist completely this idea that we're all in despair. There is no need for that. The financial situation in the world is in crisis. The church is having to think carefully about its finances. But I believe in the reckless generosity of God. And I believe in a God who calls us equally to be generous. It's a time to articulate hope, a time to display generosity. I think the year galvanised me even more into believing that we as a church need to embrace change, and we can change. But some of our structures, some of our ways of being, we inhabit a story of despair, and that's not godly, because the God I believe in is a God of grace and abundance, and says that this is about me and you having life in all its fullness, not life in all its survival, life in all its fullness. And I want to join in with that, and I want to call people to join in with me.
And when we talk about discipleship, it's often a kind of churchy way of saying following Jesus, isn't it? But lots of Methodists, lots of Christians have different understandings of what Jesus looks like, and therefore what following Jesus looks like. What does Jesus look like? Eunice, tell us.
I think Jesus, when you read the Gospels, Jesus wandered around all over the place. He was always wandering about, wasn't he? The cities and the towns. He always had time for people. He offered a radical welcome. He welcomed sinners, he welcomed prostitutes and tax collectors. He was always with the people, or frequently with people he shouldn't be with, in places he shouldn't be. I think in that, Jesus offers us a radical stance that really fits with Wesleyan Arminian theology. This all are welcome. And I'd love Methodism to get hold once again of that radical welcome of Jesus that says all are welcome, not come as you are, stay as you are, but the God who loves us just as we are, but too much to leave us that way, that is hope for the world. That's the Jesus I love, the one who was involved and engaged in the community around him, not the one stuck in the synagogue. You don't often read in the Gospels loads of stuff around him being stuck in the synagogue. He did that naturally.
But he didn't even belong there, did he? Because
Well, he didn't belong. No, he didn't.
he didn't belong anywhere. I think that's the interesting thing about Jesus.
I worry too much, Anna, that we sometimes think that we've done church by attending. You know, we go on a Sunday morning and we think, oh, well, I've done that Christian bit this week. And it's not at all, is it? It's a case of going to worship in order to remember who God is and to go out and be the 24/7 disciple Jesus asks us all to be.
Well, I think that's a really good moment on which to close, because we have run out of time. Eunice, thank you so much for your time. May you have a very good trip back to Newcastle. If you're listening and you want to track down some more of the Design podcasts, you can visit methodist.org.uk/design. That's DSIGN. And if you want to reflect on the issues further for yourself or with others, you can check out the Design postcards and you can find out about them on the website too. Eunice, thanks ever so much.
Thanks, Anna. Lovely to see you.